Every once in a while, a product comes out that I think fundamentally changes the way that I look at a product category, and this is one of those. So this is the new Lenovo YogaBook 9i. And a couple weeks ago, Lenovo reached out. They're like, hey, for CES, we're launching a new product. It's something a little different, something a little cool. We want you to check it out. So I get it in, and I open up the box, and it's this thing, a laptop with 2 screens. So this is an engineering sample. A lot of stuff is like a little bit janky, but it's just the way that engineering samples are. But when I first pulled this out, I was like, haven't I seen something like this before? And I thought about it, I kind of have, but not really. Like I've seen devices with multiple screens of different sizes. I've seen foldable laptops with like bending screens. I've also seen laptops with like 3 screens, but never a device with 2 completely identical OLED panels without a keyboard. This is a clamshell device with no keyboard. So I pull it out, I'm like, okay, that's kind of neat. But then the moment I started using this thing, within like 2 minutes, I was like, I got it. This thing is awesome. And I think almost anyone who uses a laptop can appreciate what this device can do. So if you're using this for work, you can throw a document or your email on one screen and then some kind of reference material on the other. Or you can go vertical. So if you're a developer, you can put your code on one side and then test your app or your site on the other side. But you have 2 separate 13-inch panels for productivity. It's so good. And if you want to do some work while taking like a Zoom call or something, you can procrastinate at the same time with like a show or a live stream on the other screen. And if you want to draw or work with any kind of illustration or digital painting, you can do it with the included pen. And then on the second panel, you can have like your reference material while you're drawing, or you can like watch a show, or you can watch a tutorial on like what you're doing with that first screen. It's so cool. And for students, if you're in a lecture, you can take notes. Like you can like pull up some course material on one screen and then work on the other. And then you can also add annotations and diagrams to your notes with the pen. And then if you want to be a complete asshat, you can be playing a game on the top screen and then stream snipe someone on that secondary screen. But those are all examples of using this device with both screens, right? If you want to, you don't have to use the bottom screen or the secondary screen, and you can have it as like a keyboard, like an on-screen keyboard with an 8-finger tap, and you can also use a trackpad. This trackpad is surprisingly good. Like when I first activated it, I was expecting it to be pretty janky, but like it just tracks and moves so smoothly. And there's also haptic feedback on the buttons down here, but this whole section down here is now a giant trackpad, and it just works the way that you would expect it to work, or the way that it should work if this was built properly. Now I will say that the actual on-screen typing experience isn't the best. Like, this doesn't feel particularly natural because there's no like tactility to it, but it does work if you need it. You see, the concept of a dual screened laptop isn't brand new here, but it's how they've integrated the software with the hardware and all the gesture control. Like they've just done a really good job of making this a really viable product. But what really ties all this together is the hardware kit that they include with the product. So you get this active pen, which you saw earlier, but there's also this Bluetooth keyboard. This is an external keyboard. It has its own battery, and it can connect magnetically to the whole setup. But this is a nice keyboard. It's like a, I don't know, membrane keyboard feeling thing. But the thing that ties all of this together, this whole product together, is this stand/cover thing. So when I pulled this out of the box, I was like, this is the thing that they're using to hold the whole product? Like how is this gonna work? How do you hold 2 screens into a usable form factor with just this? But it snapped together magnetically, and now you can place the YogaBook on this stand. So this bottom angle holds that bottom screen at around, I don't know, like a 50, 60 degree angle. And then the top screen, you can adjust it to whichever angle you'd like. So you can have it like kind of straight up facing you, or you can have it tilted down if you prefer, but it's all a very sturdy contraption. Like this doesn't feel like some bizarre, janky afterthought of a stand. This feels like so well designed. It's just surprisingly sturdy for what it is. And then once you have it all set up, you can take your keyboard and you attach it magnetically to the front of it. And you have like this whole 2-screen setup. How sick is that? And your pen, you can just use it or you can store it in the back. And if you don't like the feel of the on-screen keyboard, you can take that Bluetooth keyboard, place it on top of that second screen, it attaches magnetically, it automatically detects it, and this bottom area now becomes that trackpad like I mentioned earlier, and now you have a tactile keyboard up top. So the screens, these are both 13-inch OLED panels and they're really nice. 2.8K 16:10 aspect ratio. They get bright, very good color reproduction. They're just fantastic screens. And then at the top of them, there's a webcam. This has infrared for facial biometrics, if you've ever used that stuff for logging into Windows and stuff. And there's also some speakers that are kind of tucked away in this hinge in the middle. So there's 4 in there. I would say that they don't sound particularly great, but I have a strong suspicion that this is just super early software. I think the drivers are just not tuned yet, and so they're just much quieter than I would expect on a device like this. Now, as expected of a YogaBook, this has a 360-degree hinge, so you can put it all the way back, so it gives you all the kind of tablet mode, presentation mode, tent mode, and in that tent mode for presentations, you can have your one screen facing your audience for that presentation, and you can be controlling that presentation on that second screen, which is something that no other single screen device could do, which is pretty cool. The port selection is decent. There's 3 USB-Cs, and the whole device is not super heavy. So this thing is like 1.38 kilos. It's fairly light. Once you package everything together, like the keyboard, the stand and everything, it's probably, my guess is like 1.7, 1.8, but it's a fairly lightweight package overall. Now, I have not mentioned in this whole video anything about performance, and it's because this device is running an unreleased chip, or unreleased at the time of filming this. And it's a 13th generation Intel U chip. And on a chip like this, you're gonna get solid performance, but it's not like super hardcore gaming performance. And I'm not allowed to benchmark this thing because this is not, it's not out on the market yet, but my guess is that this is gonna be significantly better than the 12th generation chip that it replaces, just because of what I've seen in terms of leaks on the 13th generation slides. And same with battery life, because this product is in such an early state, it's pointless to do any kind of battery testing because it's clearly not optimized by the software. But from what I've seen so far, this is way better than I thought it would be. Just because it's a double screen device, I thought it would just like drain juice super quickly, especially with OLED screens, but I think it's actually gonna be a fairly decent battery life for this type of product. I do wanna comment real quickly about the finish. This is a kind of blue anodized aluminum. It's got like a matte finish on the top with a kind of polished, chromed out finish on the edges. It's a nice looking device, a very premium looking device, but there's a couple things that come to mind. Like when I was holding this thing, because you manipulate it so much and you're like folding and propping it up all the time, I kind of wish that this was made with like the ThinkPad, like that rubberized material. It'd be a little off-brand for a YogaBook. I get that, but because of how much I was manipulating this device and how I was manipulating it, I kind of wish that it was just made with a more grippy material on the surface. But this product overall is just so cool. I feel like the way that most people use their laptops would just benefit from having a secondary screen, and to have a package that's quite compact and to have that full 2-screened mobile computing experience, it's something cool. Now you do need a little bit of desk space, right? If you're always bound to a plane or you're working in your car, you're not gonna be able to maximize the full potential of both screens. You do need a little bit of space to set everything up, but if you have that space and you've been looking for like just more screen real estate, really functional screen real estate, check this thing out. This is something special.